Hello and welcome to the part 2 of our making our LED name light. Yesterday we did the 3D design and printed our part. Okay, first we have to glue these parts together and then the scary part, wiring. Okay, let's get into it. Has been a couple hours now. We're back. Our letters has been glued together like so. Now the fun part, wiring LEDs. Let's get into it. It's not gonna be very in-depth tutorial. If you want to know basics about LEDs and more in-depth, I can have resources down. I will link a guy who I learned everything about LEDs, WLED and these addressable LEDs. So let's get into it. Now let's talk about LEDs. We're gonna use these addressable WS2812b LED strips. This is the standard version of it. It has 60 LEDs in a meter and it's 10 millimeters wide, and it has 3 pins. Power positive, and we have data in the middle, and we have negative or ground for the power. So 2 for power and data in the middle. Very simple. And these ones, as you can see, can be cut after every LED, which is kind of perfect. But I'm gonna use one of my favorite LED strips, this 5mm version of the same one, WS2812b, and it's 5mm more narrow, and it's S-shaped. It's called S-shaped because you can twist it and fold it more easily to adjust to different shapes. So, and the principle is the same. It has 3 wires, positive, data and negative. Okay, just a little bit harder to solder these because they are much narrow and the soldering pads are much smaller, and these ones are grouped by 3, so you can cut them only after every 3 LEDs and reconnect them. Okay, that's the main part about these LEDs, is you can cut them and resolder in the same spot, and we're gonna be cutting them to fit inside our letters. People most commonly they do this, they put the LEDs around the walls of the letters, yeah, but that's not what I do. I lay the LEDs flat, like so, at the back. Okay, that's why I cut them to the size I need to fit in the letter, and then I will be connecting them with these. These are specially bought. They are, let's see if it says, well, it's all in Chinese, but it's LED connecting wires, jumper wires. They are coated and only the tips are exposed, so they isolated. One more thing we're gonna need is a microcontroller to control our LEDs, which comes in a bigger size like this, or a smaller size like this. I'm gonna use smaller one just because these are a bit chunky and harder to position inside the letters when the project's done. So that's why I love the small ones. They're more compact and they fit almost everywhere. one more thing we're gonna need is power lead, a USB plug, USB-A. This one has a switch in line, 2 wires, positive, negative at the end. So if you never used these addressable LEDs, WLED and these microcontrollers, please head to Chris's channel. I will have the links below. You will learn everything you need to know about these better than I can explain in this video. Okay, so go learn the basics about WLED microcontrollers, and he has a great video about soldering basics as well. If you're scared of soldering, he has a great video on that as well. So I'm just gonna show the process how I do it. Yeah, and let's get into it. But first things first, let's cut our LED strips in the necessary length for each letter. So I just lay it inside of the letter just to get the approximate length I'm gonna need to lay it all out. Okay. These ones are my favorite for a reason, because they can be bent easily without being scared of breaking them. Now we have cut our LEDs to the necessary length to cover our letters. Now the fun part, soldering them together. Now your LED strip will come with a 3-pin connector like this at the start, which is great because there is a little piece as well like this, probably with your LED strip as well, that we can practically solder it right on the controller and connect it to the LED strip. And here, these 2 wires can be connected to the power supply, okay? And it will work as long as you connect the rest of the LEDs behind it. And now what I'm gonna do is apply a little bit of solder on these soldering pads at each end of the strips that we just cut for the individual letters. Yeah, just to apply a little bit of solder at each end of these soldering pads. Okay, and then we're gonna connect them together. Now that we have bunch of LED strip pieces, we have to connect them. Now, if you're a complete beginner, would suggest you using colored wires like this, where red represents positive, green represents data, and white the ground and negative, which is clearly labeled on your LED strip. If you're using regular WS2812b, it's a little bit less labeled on these narrow ones, but there is still some markings for 5 volt data in and negative. And another very important thing to remember, the voltage power goes through the LED strip back and forth, okay? Data, however, travels only one way. So make sure as you connect them that the arrow is pointing the same way all the time, okay? If you connect this way and here is your controller, the data will travel this way, and if you connect it the other way around, see, the arrows colliding, even the markings don't match up. So just follow the markings, follow the arrows when you solder them together, okay? Now, I have already attached these extension wires at the end of my first piece of LED strip that will go inside the first letter. And now I will pass these wires through a hole here to reach to the next letter. Now grab the next LED strip that will go in the second letter, okay? Just remember that the data arrows, okay? Solder in the right end. This is gonna continue from our first strip. Thank God, the soldering is finally done. Now, let's install WLED. The installation process for WLED is very easy. You grab your microcontroller and correct USB cable. This one uses USB-C. Okay, you plug it in. Windows recognizes you added the new device. Now, if you go to install.WLED.me, it's very simple. We pick the latest release and press install. Now, we pick the microcontroller here. There should be only one device if you don't have others connected. Pick that and install WLED and confirm to install again, and it will start the installing process. Once the installation is complete, you press next, and it will ask us to set up our Wi-Fi. Can do it right here. I have saved my password here. Enter your Wi-Fi name and the password and press connect. And it has connected to our Wi-Fi. Now we can go and visit the device. And it will open the UI for our WLED controls or different effects and colors here. Now we want to configure our LED strip, okay? Now I use the maximum current as 4000 milliamps. And now it's a good time to count your LEDs, how many you used in your light box. Now we're gonna go over and count every individual LED, how many LEDs are here in our project, okay? So count them, add them up, and then we can enter them in our settings. So it's time to connect this LED connector to our microcontroller, okay? For that, I'm gonna use the 5V pin here, the ground pin, and the D4 pin next to it. And there you go, just like that. Our connector is connected to our microcontroller. Now we have our microcontroller wired up, and we have our connector for LED strip. We can use these two wires to wire up our power supply here, power cable. Now, why I haven't glued down these yet? Because I first want to figure out where I'm gonna put this microcontroller. Because I want to lay the LEDs over the controller instead of other way around, okay? So, because I see I can't really fit it inside the G anywhere, I'm gonna have to use place in the E here, most likely, and pass the controller. Okay, I think that's gonna be a perfect spot for it there. Now we just need to connect our power cables to these two power for the LED strip. Okay, let's do it just now. I'm gonna just twist the wires together and use the heat shrink to hide the connections. Alright, apply some heat, shrink it up. That's our power connected. Now we have connected our power to our LEDs. Now we just have to connect our controller to our LEDs, and the power from here gonna go and feed the controller as well, okay? Because power unlike data, can travel both ways. So it can travel to controller and to the power strip here. Okay? Now you just have to lay it all nice and pretty. Now, we want all the wires to be under the strip, okay? The LED strips go on top of everything else. So just lay out all the wires. Okay? And if you have a controller laying here, or wires here, lay your LED strip over, okay? Because you don't want any shadows to be cast. It will be more messy at the very start when you have all the wires and you have to hide them inside the letter, okay? Just bear with me. Doesn't have to look pretty inside as long as it looks pretty on the outside, okay? Just make sure the LEDs are on top of everything else you have going on in there, okay? Okay, if you're wondering how I did the E, where you have like the thing in the middle, split in here. I don't know if you can see, but here you can tap in even in the middle of the LED strip to draw the power and data. You can tap in anywhere in the middle of the strip basically, and it will take the data coming from the previous LED and just borrow it for that bit. It's like a fork in the road basically. Data still go in here, but you just make the fork here to go here. It's for the R, I think here as well, yeah. Tapped in the middle for the other half of the letter. That can be done, no penalty for that. Okay, let's go over our setup here quickly. Now, we have our microcontroller, the start of LED strip here. Let's go in here. This way, jumper wires at the end of the G here connects to the start of here. Here starts the next LED strip, goes up here, and now we have here a fork to the middle of the E here, just soldered in there in line. Okay, and the date again keeps going here to the next strip, start of the next strip here, keeps going here, jumper wires to the here, keeps going up here again, jumper wires to here, top of the L, going here, here, again cut, jumper wires, goes around here, jumper wires, the wires go through here. Actually tapped in here, didn't start from the end of the strip, I tapped in here. That keeps going to the R. R again, there's tapped in the middle for this little piece. Okay, so the data comes from here to here, start of the strip, up here, fork in the road, do this. Now it goes again up here, here, jumper wires from R to D, and then the last little bit of strip here. And that's about it. That should work. Hot glue everything down to keep everything in place. And yeah, we're pretty much finished. You can add our lids on, the front plates. Everything has been hot glued down as well. I prefer to use the cool melt glue gun. It's much easier to work with. I know, it looks like a war zone here, but no living soul is supposed to look inside this Pandora's box once it's closed, okay? So let's put on our front covers and see how it looks like when it's turned on. Oh yeah, the filament I use for this is a 3-color PLA. Yeah, looks pretty interesting. So, if we did everything correctly, this should light up with no problems. And it does. There you have it. Let's add our front plates and celebrate. And that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you learned something new. If you did, consider subscribing, like the video, and yeah, all the parts, links in the description. Go create your own cool custom name lamp. Okay? And I created a Ko-Fi account if you do want to donate me something, buy me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description, okay? And see you next time, guys.